Our final reader for this evening is Nick Ripatrazone, who's a 2011 graduate of the MFA program. Nick is the author of 2 books of poetry, Oblations, and This Is Not About Birds. Both of those are here, right, Nick? Yeah. I have to say about Oblations, I'm not a baseball fan, but one of his sections in Oblations is about baseball, and it's just wonderful. So check it out. And he's also the author of a forthcoming book of nonfiction called The Fine Delight, which is a critical analysis of contemporary Catholic literature. His fiction has received honors from Esquire, the Kenyon Review, and ESPN, the magazine. And his reviews and other writing have appeared in Shenandoah, Prairie Schooner, Pleiades, Colorado Review, Iowa Review, and the Mississippi Review. He lives with his wife in northern New Jersey. And before I welcome you, I just also want to say that all of these authors have websites. It's theirnames.com, so check it out, see what else they're up to, and welcome, Nick.
Thank you again to Bonnie and Paula for organizing this. I know a lot of work goes into these events. And of course, it's fantastic to read with former classmates and to see former mentors and classmates here. I think the Rutgers program, people have known about the Rutgers Newark program, but I think they're learning that it's a very supportive kind of environment, and you sort of stay with these people. I think it's a huge, huge bonus, to have a graduate program like that. I do want to read one poem from the first book that was mentioned, and as Paula had said, there's different sections or topics, and this is in the last section. It's called Sangre de Cristo, built 1989. 3 men in the farthest row on the left sneezed during the intercessions. The sneezes were not concurrent, though they did punctuate the prayers in such a manner that, during the offering of the gifts, Father Meyer snuck a glance back to their area. He remembered their faces, and he would make it a point during the exit procession to offer an even more deliberate look in their direction. But they left after communion, each of them opting for the left row, the one with Deacon Perry, who paused before placing the host on hand. Father Meyer asked the cantor, and she said that she knew one of the men, but that he hadn't come to Mass in years. "What is years?" asked the priest. 20 years, the cantor said, and she was as sure of that statement as she was of the price of blackberries at the Mill Street Market. She always got that wrong. One of the men used to organize a carnival to benefit the school. He'd purchased a day liquor license, thinking the sales would bring money. They did, but they brought worse, and it all ended with a man passed out in the front pew, a missile open on his bare stomach. He said he was warm, and the pages were cold. That kind of man, she said, could use some church. Main difference between these 2 books is the first is prose poems, which kind of sounds like the cop-out of the century. But, I guess the idea is that the narrative is more important than, compartmentalizing the information. And the second book is more traditional poetry. And I think probably the narrative style remains with it. I don't think that's something I could probably ever give up. First poem I'll read from this collection is called The Plot of a Western. Character A, grease-bearded, pivots, shot focused on crotch, then spits in direction of character B, one boot on wooden porch, other on sand, green vest buttoned halfway. Character C rides horse A from horizon. Cue Morricone ripoff. Cue background whips. Character A looks at character B. Character B looks at character C. Character C is too far to tell, but we assume that he's here to beat the shit out of somebody. I don't know if people remember, there was a show, In Search Of, that was narrated by Leonard Nimoy. And there was this one episode when I was a little kid about D.B. Cooper, the guy who jumped out of a plane with a lot of money, and we've never found him. Well, one of the flight attendants became a nun after that. I was always fascinated with that idea of why she would enter into this convent. So I was kind of inspired by that. Sisters of Mercy. Beneath a 1986 Chicago Bears sweatshirt, thermals, and bleached polo dress shirts, I found a folded nun's habit. I lifted the habit and the fabric settled down, brown and full. The white coif was a bit wrinkled. I searched the box for a rosary, but only found costume necklaces. A woman stood behind a table, bills stuffed into her fanny pack. Could this be? Might she have gone from convent to cul-de-sac, traded morning prayers and early supper for Pilates and PTA? I wanted to ask, but someone tried to barter the price of a butter plate. The owner said, absolutely not. All prices are firm. Nothing is left to interpretation. I think when you're writing a book of poems, I like James Dickey's advice to not be yourself and try to adopt persona. And I think a lot of times there's assumptions with poetry that you are sort of integrating, actual experience. And of course, if that was true, I'd be maybe like 400 people at this point. So I think it's safe with poetry to sort of escape, and maybe more comfortable than I feel with fiction. And this is kind of an example of that. It's called Anne. In 1961, my mother stopped reading books, magazines, pamphlets pinned beneath windshield wipers, flyers stuffed in mailboxes, letters written longhand or typed. She would not receive anything, printed or transcribed, so I had to read everything to her, delivered in an even monotone thumbs up to note the end of a paragraph. I thought structure had significance, but she was sold on content and context. And when I repeated words, she savored the sounds like good caramel. People asked me, how did she get by? How could anybody unlearn words? I said, she saw the red of a stop sign and just ignored the white, the blue of half-priced peaches, green grass, bleached yellow at noon. You only need words for words. They are not the end of all things. Next one is called An American Werewolf in London. 6 hours of early Depeche Mode and Mrs. Gabriel's sob was worth it to see my brother play college football. No one knew that he was dating my geometry teacher. My parents were deflooding our basement, so I hitched a ride, and I listened to her claim that Wade was more mature than most men, let alone other college sophomores. She bought 2 cases of water bottles and pointed at each Whole Foods that we passed while I explained the rules of football. She told me that academics were more important. I liked bottle rockets, Steph Leopard, 2-point conversions, and I liked watching Wade barrel through the line, but I didn't like when people asked if I was his son. Afterward, the teacher wanted to go out, so Wade told me to watch a horror movie. He said to close my eyes during the bad parts. The teacher said she trusted me to always do the right thing. There's a section in this book towards the back of different apologies, and I feel like apologizing is something, it's like a continual learning process, because every time I think we never really apologize. We sort of, present it in a sideways manner, and I think I'm not apologizing with these poems either, and I think I realized it while I was writing them, and I kind of am okay with it. This is an apology to my aunt who posts embarrassing photos of me on Facebook. You signed up this March and have already tagged me 53 times. What did you do before? Pin them to corkboard on the sidewalk? You have photos of your children, graduation from Annapolis, beach weddings, but I am naked in 41 of my photos. So what if I used to swim that way in Culver Lake? There's an age cutoff for acceptable public nudity, and 12 is too old. I'm not sure what I was thinking back then. Those Augusts were hot, the lake was surrounded by cedars and willows, and I dipped without the possibility of permanence. I want to read one last poem. It's a sequence poem, and I was talking with Kevin and Krista before that I met my wife in college, and she's basically been to every reading that I've ever done except for this one. She has back to school night. She's a middle school teacher and counselor. But a lot of what's going on in this poem has come from speaking with her about sort of her experiences. Each summer she spent at her family's home in Galicia, Spain. And so this is sort of her writing, or me writing it with her, through her, but dedicated to her nonetheless. It's called Galicia, 1986. 1. I need to find my brother after I lower clothes down the well in a bucket slung from rope, tin clinking the slate walls. I know when it reaches water because a trill rides the jute and itches my wrists. While the laundry soaks, I draw wide-eared faces in dirt with arched sneakers, then drag the heavy clothes upward, rope wrapped around sleeves, but never skin. I scrub goat milk, soap along cotton, drub across washboards that are ridged like thin ribs. After 3 hours of full sun, the shirts will become crispy, crinkled, and starched, new forms. 2. I need to find my brother. But Pablo twirls his finger in froth until beige foam settles into the cola. My stomach burns from lentejas left in the sun, a fleshy film swabbed across the top that tasted so sweet. Heat has a way of turning things. After cola comes café, tan and auburn swirls, sugar like gold, held to his teeth. Aguardiente shifts in the light. He points at the sun, and he looks straight into its glare, never having to squint. I have had enough of bright things. 3, I need to find my brother, not Dolores y Andrea. Their mother has 2 bull-brown cows named Chica and Paloma. We rub their round bellies, but we'll never touch their udders, awkward and full. Pans pile in the barn, coated from milk left out in the sun. We could peel the white back like glue dried on a desk. Andrea has pink pastillas for her feet. Her mother burns her socks rather than washing them and stuffs the cotton into coals while the smell curdles under smoke. Those cows, doe-eyed and dumb, so heavy and sweating. 4. I need to find my brother, though Francolina fills Coke bottles with milk and stuffs them in plastic bags printed with 2 gallegos, fists raised. We hate Franco, but she still keeps portraits of him. A new Jesus, olive skin oiled beneath a quartz chandelier. We swim in the irrigation tank, water a deep green, whirlpool from a wind. Francisco wobbles to the trough and his left leg is shorter than the right. He throws pebbles at pigs. One hit between their hot eyes will turn them wild. I watch him miss and then settle underwater. My eyes are still open. 5. I need to find my brother, so I let Dolores y Andrea flap and flop, swallow the tank water, and wake with sore throats. Francolina will wrap ice rolled in a dish towel around their necks. Sun dries me while I run past. Tio Logio's cherry and apple trees patchworked pink and white, crabbed apples bruised and purpled in dirt, balls of wet flesh boiled and stringy, stinking, stuck to my bare feet. The path curves through a carport, past a Vespa tattooed with Deportivo emblems, front tire sagged like heavy skin. 6. I need to find my brother. He is 19, and I know that he's in La Urfe. Cigar smoke heavy like chocolate, old men line dominoes across pocked tables, and my brother's girl leans against the window, skin on glass. Sofia is from Lisboa, younger than Tomas, older than me. She connects us. He is loose with his words and leaves us, brushing elbows, carrying silent grudges, collected whims, claims that her eyes wander, but no more than his own eyes do. He finds a girl from Vigo, her hair stuffed behind thin ears. 7. I need to know my brother, but Sophia drags me outside, behind the bar. Women drown dish towels in a shallow pond. The one on the left, pregnant at 15, still carries a soft stomach, and I fear such marks of sex, such stretching of body. We run into the tree line where wild boars have been seen, their patched hair spiked, showing pale pink skin. Sophia says a boy was mauled there last winter, his spine exposed like white rope. She does not look scared, does not need Tomas. I have made my choice. 8. I try to remember my brother, while Sophia plucks moras from low branches, handfuls bleeding blue onto her violet dress. She licks her palms, and I lay back on the ground, hands finding new leaves. Tomas squeezes my wrist, and I wake to the cold. He smells of bigo, and he warns me about ever eating anything wild. God, he is right. He knows the pain that I feel kneading my abdomen in front of the toilet. I lean against the hamper and pray for heat again. Thank you.